Mr. Westmoreland, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to personally thank Mr. Edwards and his staff for the accessibility that they've given me in my office and our constituents that have had questions and concerns. We haven't always agreed, but we have had some great conversations, and I want to thank him publicly for that. Ms. Eberly, let me say that I got a call from one of my community bankers that said he'd been in the banking business for 35 years. He's going through an examination. He said he had never really had more an examination like this that was more nitpicking, incompetent regulators, but yet he did not want to come forward because of fear of retaliation. And so, you know, I think that's something that you need to look at, in the fact that this bank is finally making money, but he said it seemed like the regulators wanted to look in the rearview mirror rather than looking forward into what they had done to actually begin making money and saving their bank. So, you know.
Will the gentleman yield?
I will.
I want to underscore what he's saying, because I think it's a very serious issue. And when I would talk to banks, and as I understand it, we cannot appeal to you for your individual bank. We can only appeal in a policy way. That's why we wrote our letter. But what many, or rather our bill, many of them would say they couldn't appeal because they were afraid of retaliation. They feel that if they raise something, that they are going to be punished. And I think we got to get rid of that. You know, anyway, I yield back. That's an important.
Well,
your point is a very important one.
Reclaiming my time. I guess this would be to Mr. Brown or anybody from the FDIC that wants to take it, really. But you know, coming from the state of Georgia, and even despite the crisis that we've had, we're still one of the fastest growing states in the nation. And to accommodate that growth, it's important that we do have the financing in place to develop real estate. And leading up to the downturn, the community banks, as you probably know, paid the largest amount of attention to being able to lend so we could develop. But because a lot of these real estate loans tanked, the economy tanked, they were having to write down these loans immediately, require more capital, which was hard to do. But the study showed that the construction activity is essential to economic activity, and I think Mr. Evans will agree with this, in your community. And that's certainly true in my district. And the further research, you know, you have to establish a balance between the social benefits and the social costs of the commercial real estate. And we're beginning to see the first signs of some new construction activity in my district. And my fear is that the examiners will not allow these community banks to participate in this economic comeback that we're having in Georgia, and especially in my district. So could you describe any new guidance that you might have that you could provide to these banks to help them and to give us the assurance that they can get back into this type of lending?
So I think that probably falls more in my camp. We don't have any new guidance planned, but I would say that the existing guidance that we issued throughout the crisis stands, and we have encouraged institutions to make loans to creditworthy borrowers. We've issued a couple of different statements in that regard, in addition to encouraging institutions to work out credits with troubled borrowers. So we keep repeating that. I can re-emphasize it with the staff in the Atlanta region, and I'm happy to do that, and in fact the staff countrywide, nationwide, but that is our policy.
Well, thank you. And the other thing I hope that y'all will look at is the appraisal situation, because if you look at the loss share banks and they get an appraisal, it's far lower than what a non-loss share bank appraisal would get, because that means that loss share bank would get more reimbursement from the government, which is really costing the taxpayers money. And we have appraisal problems that go far beyond that, though, in the fact that we are now having to use appraisals or appraisers from different parts of the state. And as you know, real estate is location, location, location. And if these appraisers aren't familiar with the location and the benefits that it has, then they really can't do a firm appraisal. So I hope that the FDIC in total will look at the appraisal process and some of the problems that are coming from it. So with that, I know I'm over, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you, Mr. Green, for 5 minutes.